Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 607. Now, this episode is all about getting our mind in the right place to be able to be in the receiving mode of abundance. I called it money mind magnet. I actually have been hired by companies to be able to create programs around this, to be able to get their people to be able to up-level their thinking and their thoughts to be able to attract what they truly desire. Now, of course, we're talking about the subject of money, but I want us to be able to still apply it to other things. In general, abundance. But when it comes to the money side of things, it's one of those topics, especially the last year or so, but it's so important to be able to get our mind in the right place. So whatever is happening in our experience, whatever's showing up, we have the resiliency, the ability to be able to be adaptable into any situation that we're going through. And when we start to go down that route and that level, we will start to receive the abundance that we desire. Now, this is being broadcasted live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, on Twitter, all those social programs. So if you want to join me live, you can go ahead to any one of those profiles, search my name, and you'll be able to get there. Now, this is, obviously, you're probably listening to this in the podcast or YouTube or within the app in the future, but you can always join me live, as I just said. Let's go ahead into the content, because one of the biggest issues that we experience when it comes to the money side of things is we focus on two things which are absolutely going to trip us up right in the beginning. Can you guess what those kind of two things are? It's not necessarily the money itself, it's the actions. It's going to be like, when is it going to happen? When am I going to receive that money? And number two, how am I going to receive that money? Right? Now, when we think of the when is it going to happen and the how, we get into a bit of scarcity, because we don't know the how and we don't know the when. So automatically, when we think of about acquiring the abundant mindset, we are self-sabotaging ourselves even. We're focusing on something beyond ourselves, and therefore the nature of doing so is going to cause us to think of the scarcity. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. We just don't have that ability yet. So we will continue to be in the negative mindset. We'll be in that scarcity, fearful mindset. And I've had this experience myself. You see, there's been times, I would probably say growing up, I have always had a very hard work ethic, okay? I'm a very hard worker. Tell me what to do and I'll go ahead and do it. And financially, I was doing pretty well growing up, like as a teenager and things like that. And I didn't have any negative role models. I had stable role models, not crazy abundant ones like millionaires or anything, but absolutely they were stable. So I didn't really have a scarcity mindset. But then I started to really invest within my business, and not all of those things turned out good. In fact, I got ripped off by a few people, and some things were just, I invested in and I just couldn't make it work. And it got to the point that things got so bad, like on the credit card debt and things like that, and I was wondering where the money's going to come into, because I've been producing so much content and trying to help people and try to break free of their limitations, but along the way I got a little bit lost. And I got into that mindset, not that I was going into debt necessarily in a bad way, but there was a stumbling block. There was a stumbling block what I thought was my perceived income level. I thought that this was all I was able to get with the means that I have available to me. And it was a lie. It was an absolute lie. Now, I actually do usually counterintuitive things. So I actually double down on the successes that I'd really desired. And what that began to do, I actually invested $25,000, which I didn't necessarily have liquid, but I invested $25,000 in a lump sum to be able to learn more about business. Now, most people would probably go, I need to scale back. I need to scale back in what I'm spending. But my belief system was, if I'm going to get myself out of this, I wanted to be able to invest in something that would bridge that gap. I wasn't going to be looking for myself, in other words. I had to get external help, which goes into some of the how, but usually the how that we think of is, well, how am I going to get out of it? And because we don't have the resources or the ideas or the solutions yet, and we don't know when it's going to happen, we spiral down into that negative mindset. We spiral down into that scarcity, which then becomes this ingrained mindset. It just becomes ingrained in our experience. It becomes ingrained in our thoughts, in our feelings, and our actions. And like I said, I had that woman. There was times when I'd be laying in bed at night and I would have almost like heart palpitations because I was anxious and worried of how I was going to turn this around, how I was going to turn around, and when was it going to happen. But it actually just made things worse. So if we're going to truly change our experience when it comes to the financial abundance, there are a few things that we have to do. We've got to supercharge ourselves. We've got to look for the answers that we'll actually be able to replicate within ourselves. Most people just try to figure it out by themselves. But the chances are to get out of that situation is going to be pretty tricky because we got ourselves into the situation for where we are. So we need to be able to look beyond ourselves slightly, but on the modeling, who can we seek out help with? Who can we really get our, learn the success principles? Because a lot of the time we weren't taught about money. I know I wasn't taught about it at school. They didn't tell you about credit cards or debit cards or taxes or anything like that. We weren't taught the association around money. Like, what if we were conditioned to be abundant? What if we were conditioned to be able to come from a place of whatever I desire desires me too? What if I start to operate from that mindset that I am open to the reception and the receiving of that financial abundance? That's not something that we do. And sometimes we start to self-sabotage ourselves. You see, let's just say you have a negative. You're in a negative mindset and also a negative financial balance. That feels hard, right? That is not only inner scarcity, but obviously external scarcity because our bank balances is showing a negative, or even if it was very, very little. So intuitively, we start to get into that worried and fearful mindset. And then when we think of getting out of it, maybe think about this. What is your dream number financially to receive every single month? What is that dream number? Now, I'm not talking about the crazy big numbers yet. I'm talking about the thing which will allow you to feel so good that everything is covered and also you have the freedom to do the things that you would like to do. Is it 2,000? Is it 5,000 a month? Is it 10,000? Is it 30,000 or more? When you think about that, when you have that dream number in your mind, what is your association to it? Does it lift you up? Do you go, wow, that is my dream number and I can't wait to get it? Or does that dream number, the goal that you have in your mind, actually give you that scarcity mindset? Does it actually cause you to have fear and therefore hold back? It gets you in that reactive state of doing nothing. Do we start to just feel that worry and doubt when we think of our dream and goal? Because if you do have any form of negative association when it comes to your goal or dream, when it comes to that financial number, it will hold you back. You will start to self-sabotage your experience. So what is your association, not only to the dream number that you have, but what is the association when you think of money? Be honest with yourself. Is it something where you have some limiting thoughts or beliefs around it? Maybe the money is the root of all evil. Maybe money is hard to come by. Maybe the money is, I've got to put a ton of work into it to be able to get anywhere. Is it because my past experiences of scarcity and debt and worry and doubt when it comes to our financial situation has actually caused money itself to have an association of some form of negativity? That's the question you've got to ask yourself. Is it charged with worry and fear, or is it charged with abundance? That when you think of money, you go, I love it. I can't wait to be able to receive it because I can then spend it. I can help people. I can help the community. I can help charities. I can give it away. I can create stuff. It gives me security and freedom, all those kind of things. Is money something that causes you to be lifted up or brought down? You have to recognize your association to not only your dream number per month, which covers everything, excuse me, but also the association of money itself. What stories are you holding about money? What kind of stories and conditioning have you had? Have you observed it from other people? Maybe growing up, we didn't have the money, and therefore the value around money feels like it's hard to come by. It feels like it's a struggle. If we continue to operate from that mindset, if we can continue to operate from that symbolic representation of money in a negative way, the chances of you actually becoming financially secure and abundant is going to be pretty tricky. Now, not for everyone, because sometimes fear is a great motivator, right? There's two ways of being motivated. It's like the carrot and the stick. We're either getting away from the fear, or we're using that fear to get out of debt. But usually, even when we operate from fear to get us out of that financial situation, we actually start to go backwards because we're now out of debt. So we relax. We get back into our old associations, our old habits, and then suddenly we go back to the fire of that debt to then have to fight and really operate from that fear to get out of debt, to get into that comfort zone. And then we go back. So we can start to fall into this trap of going in and out of debt, and that causes us to have this association that once I have money, I let it all go, get into the debt, and then I need to get myself out. And that vicious loop actually holds us back. So the best way, fear is good for getting us out temporarily, but if we're going to really change, we want to be able to change our association around money. Here's why that is important. You see, money is symbolic, right? When you think of money, you have an association and it's symbolic. Now, what runs via symbols? Your unconscious mind does. You are symbolically, unconsciously conditioned in many different ways. We know what a green light means. It usually means to go. We know what a red one is going to be to stop. When we think of all the things around us, they are symbolic. We have symbolic values around family, symbolic values around our health. We have all these things which are very, very symbolic to us. And even money is one of those. So if we've been conditioned and we're fighting to get out of debt and therefore we get out, feel comfort and then go back into it, or we've been modeling maybe our parents, maybe they weren't good at money, or maybe they were saying like money is the root of all evil. All that conditioning actually starts to ingrain the symbolic representation to your unconscious mind. And once we feed it that negative association in that symbolic representation to your unconscious mind, it will take hold of that. It will be able to, it will run the fear, it will run the scarcity, it will run the doubt. And then when we focus, going back to our first question of when is it going to happen and how is it going to happen, we don't have those answers. So therefore, it causes us to remain further stuck. So the counterintuitive part for me was when I got into that one-time place, I was like, well, rather being stuck and still, I'm going to reinvest in myself. I'm going to look for the answers, not about me, as in how am I going to get out of this, but how can I model? How can I research? How can I invest, even if it was just time, in getting my mind in the right place? Because if we're not in receiving an open mode of money, we will be falling backwards. You see, I was actually listening to someone today, and it goes, I'm sure you've heard it, but it was related to business, and it's like either a business is growing or it's dying. Like there's no middle ground, because you've always got to compete, you've always got to grow, you've got to keep on like learning and investing and looking for the percentage change in the gross profit and so on. And it's a bit like us on a personal development level. Like if we're doing nothing, we're actually going backwards. There's no real middle ground there. We're either going backwards or we're going forwards. So ask yourself, when you think about the money representation, the symbolic meaning around money, what are you doing to condition it in a different way? What are you doing to cause yourself to see money in a different example or a different way? Are we looking for the old stories which have kept us stuck, or are we going to look for other people's stories which will set us free? Are we going to look for the mind programming to supercharge our mind? You see, wherever you set your attention and intention, your unconscious mind will look for it. Usually we're operating from this scarcity, so guess what? Your mind is looking for scarcity. And it's very, very hard when the external results or our external reality is showing nothing but debt or fear and worry. It's very, very easy to fall in that trap. Because the result showing up is just saying, I have this lack of abundance. So it can be very, very tricky to start to program your mind differently, because your unconscious mind is looking for more debt. It's looking for more scarcity. It's looking for more reasons to do nothing. And that is the tricky part. Whatever you set your mind to, it will seek it out. And the one thing I want you to know is it is not going to be as profoundly grateful in the judgment that you would have. Like logically, you know, I don't want to be focusing in that negative way. I don't want to be focusing in the scarcity and doubt. I want to focus on what I want. But your unconscious mind doesn't do that. It puts its attention on of what you feel the most or what you experience. So if the external world is showing all this debt, your present environment, it's going to be programmed for doing more. And that's why I really like the sentence, whatever you desire, desires you too. Or whatever you want, wants you to. Rather, you're unconsciously conditioned to want more scarcity, which I know you don't consciously, so bear with me. But if it's been programmed to have that as symbolic representation and feeling around money, that's what it's wanting. And therefore, it wants you back. So we've got to change the frequency of our mind. We've got to change the association to money. Now, I've actually done a process on this on a past episode, and it was created to be able to change your association around money. And without going deep into it, you can probably find it on the app and so on. And you can just, I think it's called Money Association or something like that. But you go find that if you want to. Like, make that your effort. Make that kind of like, okay, I'm going to try and seek this out. But the intention behind that process is like a hypnotic process, was to understand money, but also how money sees you. Now, of course, money does not have a sentience about it, right? But if you could imagine stepping outside of your mind for a moment and looking through the eyes of money. If you were to look through the eyes of money and look back at you, how would money feel, if it could feel, in how it's handled by you? Does it feel like it's celebrated? Does it feel like it's just disregarded? Like, what is the perception of money? And like I said, it sounds crazy weird. There's what we call perceptual positions, going into different mindsets, looking outside our present model of the world and to go into another one. But if you really were to, for just a few brief moments, get outside of your mind and look throughout the eyes of money, if you could, how would money feel? Would it feel good in your possession? Does it feel mistreated? Does it feel respected? Weird, strange questions, but these are the kind of questions we've got to ask ourselves. You see, when you go through the eyes of money, we're going through the eyes of the unconscious symbolic representation of money. So if it feels, if you were to hallucinate that in a negative way, that is how your unconscious mind associates money to a greater degree. That's something that we've got to change. You've got to start to condition yourself to want money, but in the purest desirable way. Because you don't actually want money. Now you might be saying, Joseph, of course I want money. But I will challenge you on that. You don't want money. You want money for what it will bring you. So you don't really want money, but you want what it will give you or bring you. Now really think about that. You see, when we're just focused on money itself, it's intangible. You could actually say to yourself, look, Joseph, I want more money. I could give you $1 or €1 or £1 British pound, and now suddenly you've achieved and received what you desired, didn't you? You might say, well, no, Joseph, I didn't want that extra $1, euro, or pound. I wanted this specific amount. But most people don't operate from that. They're like, I just need more money. I just need more money. But there's no context. There's no real specific instruction to your unconscious mind. So we've got to get that mindset in the clarity of not just money, but what money will give you. Now that can be the physical things. It could be the home, it could be the house, it could be the boat, it could be the things that you have, like the possessions, but it's more than that to me. You see, money, what that can give you is something so much more. It could be things like security. It can be things like freedom. Freedom to do the things that you want, the security to be able to make sure that you or your family are looked after, and all of those things. Like we don't want money. We want what money will give us. Now, if we just focus on money, it is so intangible, it's so vague in its nature, even with that dream number of say 20,000 every month or 50,000 every month or 2,000. Like, I don't care what it is for you. You should, of course, but you've got to realize that you don't want that. And that's why I said, as a little hint, what would be your dream number to cover everything, allow you to live a good life, because that's what you want. So the reframe here is not that you want more money, you want what the money will give you. So we need to also focus our attention on those things. So if it were to be freedom, if it were to be security, your goal and idea should be focusing more on those things. Not money, but focus on what will give you more security. Focus on what will give you more freedom. Because now, although you don't get the results straight away, we're not focusing on the how or the when it will happen. We're focusing on the why it's important. The why is the driving force. The why is our motivator. It's the reason why we do things. We don't have motivation on the how or the when. We have motivation on why I want what I want. Now, usually the why can be used in a negative way. The reason why I am in this financial mess is because of the economy, because of a job, I got laid off, or because someone stole it. They give you reasons. So I'm not talking about that negative why I am like I am, because that is a reason for staying the same. I'm talking about the why, the importance of receiving the money, the importance of what it will get you and why that is important. So when you start to focus on that, you will start to supercharge your association around money. Because you're not focusing on money, you're focusing on the byproduct of it. And that then starts to come back into money. And if what I say is true, whatever you desire desires you to, or whatever you want wants you to, you are focusing on all the things it will give you, all the things it will give you freedom in, to create that charity, to be able to help your neighbor, to be able to have a legacy, to live, to love, to have purpose, to be able to have security, all the nice things. Like, I'm making no judgment on what it will get you, but whatever makes you feel good, right? Money doesn't make you feel good. The things that you get or receive, the things it will give you, will make you feel good. So once we start to look for those things, guess what we're doing? We're starting to feel differently. We're starting to program our unconscious mind to look for those things. Now, what comes along the way when it comes to those things? Well, money, the abundance. That is the money mind magnet. We're getting our mind to be programmed. Now, it can be very, very hard to do this consciously. Why? Because it's run at an unconscious level. But it's not to mean you shouldn't start to try to program your mind by looking for those reasons. Are there quicker and faster ways of being able to up-level your mind? Well, yeah, I would say things like hypnosis, because it works directly with your unconscious mind. If you find someone who you can directly work with hypnosis, and who can support you, who teaches you what you want, then yeah, that is like me investing the $25,000 I had spent to get myself out of a situation so I could help more people. So there are many counterintuitive aspects to this, as you can imagine. Most of the things I've said are pretty counterintuitive. As in, don't focus on the money, focus on what the money will give you. Don't focus on getting out of debt, because that will bring you back to debt when you get to that comfort place. Where sometimes it's great and important to invest more in yourself, even when we perceive like we don't have it. Now, once again, I'm no financial advisor here, but that is my belief system at times. I have to invest in myself to yield the return. I've got to look for how I can make things happen, not the when. Or, sorry, go back a little bit. I'm going to look for the why and the good how it's going to happen, not the identity of how am I going to get out of this. Well, how can I learn? How can I look for people who can teach me this, where it can actually cause me to grow? What's the point of learning and trying to learn things that you already know, being in the exact same situation? So yes, have that dream number. But if you start to have a level of scarcity around it, if you're saying to me, well, Joseph, I would love to have $50,000 every single month. That's my goal and dream. If I have that goal and dream and it's charged with negativity and scarcity and worry and fear, all of those things, the limiting beliefs around it, like the money is the root of all evil, despite wanting 50,000 US dollars every single month, how on earth are you ever meant to get there? It is impossible because you're tripping yourself up before you even try. So you've got to condition yourself. Sometimes you want to break things down smaller. Maybe 50,000 right now may be too much of a leap because it creates that scarcity, worry, and fear. So maybe you're going to go for 10,000. When you think of 10,000 a month, does that feel more comfortable? If you say yes, then that could be your goal, especially if you focus on all the things that 10,000 will give you. Maybe it'll give you the leverage to reinvest. It'll give you the leverage to feel that security and so on. But if you're still telling me, Joseph, 10,000 every single month still feels way out of my league, so fearful and scarce, then you got to break it down more. Maybe it's 5,000, maybe it's 2,000. It's the small steps which create the big leap. But you've got to condition your mind that if you're going for the big goal and dream, then you may be self-sabotaging yourself because it's programmed with scarcity. You're trying to make that leap without having learned to walk. So we get our mind in the right place first. That's all I do, right? When I'm not walking, I'm walking on this in my mind. And for those on the podcast, I'm pointing to my mind. You see, we've got to be able to develop it. We've got to start to utilize it. We've got to start to educate it. We've got to educate our unconscious mind. Part of it is conscious. Hopefully you've learned some conscious aspects of this. As in, don't focus on the money. Focus on what the money will give you, because now that feels good. Money might have scarcity, but you know what? Having the freedom, that feels good. Focusing on security, that feels good. Focusing on the things it will give you and your family should be more inspirational to be able to get those things. So most of the things around money are very counterintuitive. We've got to get out of our own way. The other thing is you've got to be able to associate yourself with people. Because if you're surrounding yourself with lots of scarcity and doubt, if everyone around you is not in that abundant mindset, unconsciously, maybe not them consciously, but unconsciously, they will potentially pull you down or at least keep you the same. You see, I remember, and it's right near me actually, when I go for a run, I run through communities which, although weirdly enough, I don't want them, because I don't want the big, crazy big house and things like that, because it's just not my thing that I absolutely want. I don't want something huge. I want something good, but not huge. But I would go around running in these neighborhoods, and I would be just in that receiving mode of admiring, and not from negativity, not from, oh, why not me, in a negative way? Why should they have it in a negative way? I'm like, wow, this is all around me. These people did something. Not all of them, because, people overspend, get crazy mortgages and things like that. But there will be some people who have done things in a great way who I could admire. I could admire that. I can look for people who are abundant that I can start to model. I can start to look for people to make me feel like I belong on my journey of financial abundance. If you're hanging around with people which have the same present negative association around money, which is showing up that experience, I don't feel like it's a very positive foundation to grow upon. And that was another reason actually why I invested $25,000. And that is a lot of money, by the way, right? It's a significant amount. But the gain that I received from it by associating with people who could educate me, who I could see what they were doing, inspired me. I was now leveling up my mind and also my business so I could help more people in the world. So I saw it nothing but an investment. An investment into you, an investment into me, investment into my business, all of those things. It's just a change of relationship. It's a change of association. So when we start to not associate as much, because there's people we've got to hang around with still. So I'm not saying cut people out of your life. What I am saying is that famous, wonderful quote, that you are the sum of, I think they usually say like the 5 closest people around you. You are the sum of those experiences, the sum of those people. So if you're hanging around with, let's just say, the 5 closest people in your sphere of influence is actually one of scarcity and debt and all those things, of course you are going to be programmed by those people. And I'm not saying that, look, it's their fault or anything like that. Because look, we are in that position potentially, right? If you're listening to this, I presume so, unless you just want to up level to a bigger level abundance. But we want to be able to add more people into our life. There's a great thing that I think about community, and it's a sense of feeling like you belong. So if you surround yourself with people who are inspirational, people who will support you on that journey, people who have done what you want, then that rubs off on you in the exact same way that you are the sum of the 5 closest people around you. So once you start to add more people into the mix, you start to feel like you belong. You start to feel like I could be like that because now I have a model, I have a reference. There is a strategy here. I have not got to find the strategy out by myself. I've just got to get closer to the person who will set me free. And of course, that does sometimes mean investing in people or in yourself, but that's just one of the things we have to do. If you want to fast track it, we can go the slow route. That's okay as well. There's no judgment about where we are financially. Some people will just have to work that bit longer or harder and find those solutions, and that is okay. But a lot of people fast track their results by actually educating themselves by those who have the answers. But wherever you are, there's no need for shame or guilt. The only shame and guilt we should have is doing nothing at all. You see, you think money is a great commodity, which it is, but the biggest one is your time, because that keeps on running out. So if all you have is time, then I want to double down and make sure that investment of my time is going to be able to yield the results that I want. So I can start to condition my mind. Simple things, easy things. Maybe you go to the bank and you just get out $50 in your, from the cash machine, ATM and so on. Put it in your wallet. Nice and simple, but don't spend it. Never spend it. But you know that you've got $50 there, and it just makes you feel what? More secure. When every time you open your wallet, you pay by card, you see a note in there and you think, I have money. Like, it could be the smallest things, the subtle things which start to educate our mind. It could be so simple. It can even be things when you go, like me, running around the affluent areas and so on, or surrounding myself with affluent people. I am going to go to myself, I can have that. I'm not going to have it right now, but I can have that. Now, immediately, I'm giving myself permission. Although I'm not going to act upon it. Same thing with the wallet. I've got $50. I could spend it, but I'm not. But I could afford that thing for $50 or less, but I'm not going to, right? We're starting to condition, starting to program. And remember, look through the eyes of money. How does money feel about you? Is it feeling loved? Is it feeling celebrated? Is it feeling full of gratitude? Is it making an investment to get more of it, growing it? Or are we depleting it? Does money feel bad? Does it feel used? Does it feel abused? Does it feel dirty? Does it feel like it just, you get it and let it go? If you're conditioned that way, then we're gonna have big issues along the way. We need to get our mind in the right place. Now, of course, once again, you can do this yourself, these actionable things that I've said, and I hope you've got value from it. But of course, if you want to be able to up-level that aspect, if you want to be able to break free of the issues which are holding you back, and usually it is belief systems of maybe I'm not worthy of it, I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, the limiting mindsets that we have. If you have things and you feel like you need that big, deep, unconscious reprogramming to evolve it to actually work for you, so whatever you desire will start to desire you back because you're that energetic match, then you can go ahead to josephclough.info/power, because that's going to be able to show you some important extended insights. And if it resonates with you, you can apply to book a call with us. And when you do that, we will see if we're a good fit and if we can get you in an 8-week program which will easily and effortlessly, systematically release every limiting belief so you can start to live what you desire. You can start to program your unconscious mind in a quick and easy way. Imagine in 8 weeks' time, from now, you are set free from all fears, doubts, and illusions that we've been having, free of every single limiting belief which is creating the symptoms. Now, if you were free of that, I'm sure, well, I hope so anyway. If not, it's definitely not for you anyway. But I'm sure if you could say, wow, within 8 weeks, by investing as little as 2 hours every single week, applying what Joseph says in the system, and it gets me free within 8 weeks, despite having had this for years or decades, within 8 weeks, it lets it all go. I'd be willing to do anything to get that. If that feels like you, if you want to break free, then absolutely go to josephclough.info/power. But if that does not resonate with you, if we're not willing to put for 2 hours per week, if we're not willing to go all in and so on, and not want to let it go in 8 weeks, then it would definitely not be for you. We only work with the people that we really want to, and they've got to match the philosophy of transformation quickly and profoundly. But once again, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to speaking to you on a future episode as well. So with that, my friends, I look forward to speaking to you very, very soon. Many thanks and goodbye.